Welcome, everyone, to this third and sadly last day of this program of Introduction to the Three Principles being presented by the 3PGC, specifically for the Russian-speaking and the Ukrainian-speaking communities, sister organizations of the 3PGC. Today, we are going to be having a conversation with Kateřina Fišerová and Rob Cook, and a little bit of participation by myself and maybe even Natasha. But I want to present Kateřina and Rob. Kateřina was introduced to the Three Principles 11 years ago, and since then has been amazed at how extraordinarily beautiful and profound life is. She is the co-founder of Understanding the Mind in the Czech Republic, leader of the 3P Czech International Community, a member of the board of the Happy Bohemia Foundation, and above all, a loving human being who has fallen under the spell of listening. She led an email marketing software company and marketing agency for 9 years, but now as a board member of the 3PGC, she wants to focus on supporting communities, bringing individuals and groups together. She really wants to use her marketing expertise to expand the impact that the 3PGC and its legacy has around the world. And Mr. Rob Cook. Rob is a retired veteran with over 20 years of experience safeguarding key figures, including the U.S. Air Force Secretary, the Chief of Staff, and the U.S. Special Operations Commander. Transitioning from military service to civilian life, Rob's mission to inspire others to live life to the fullest. Throughout his military career, Rob learned the importance of integrity, excellence, and service, core values that continue to guide him in his work as a coach and speaker. As a coach and speaker, his background led him quickly becoming known for his ability to motivate and guide clients towards success, overcoming trauma. Rob combined his expertise in coaching with his love for sports, which created a desire to make a meaningful difference in the lives of athletes. He earned a certification in athlete management from Sports Management Worldwide. His diverse skill set and mindset make him a trusted advocate and ally for athletes seeking guidance and representation. His unwavering dedication to his clients reflects his commitment to providing the highest level of representation and support. Rob's experiences are a testament to the power of resilience and what you can achieve. Through all his work, he continues to inspire others to chase their dreams and strive for excellence in all areas of life. Welcome home, Rob. And welcome again, Kateřina. And Natasha, you are free to contribute as well in any way you want, in any moment you want. And the idea today is to continue exploring this understanding of the three principles and really try to see at a deeper level through our stories, through our experiences, why and how understanding how our mind works, understanding how experience is created can be life-changing, can be transformative, and can be the solution for pretty much any psychological problem we can encounter out there. And I am absolutely certain that with Rob's and Kateřina's sharing, we will go in very different directions that we did in the last 2 days, but nonetheless, deep and valuable And I really do hope that their words and their wisdom can reach your hearts and your souls and awaken in them whatever it is that you need to see today to move forward. So welcome, Kateřina. Welcome, Rob. And who would like to begin?
Rob?
Rob?
Is that for me to decide who would like to begin or to begin? Which one is that one, Kateřina?
Can you start?
Well, here's the thing, Rob. They are already heard from all of us, and you are new to people here, most people here. So, well, at least I am very eager for them to know you and to listen to you and your experience and what you can share.
Okay, thank you. I guess I'll start with the feeling I currently have. If you would have asked me 7 years ago, would I ever wake up first thing in the morning to support helping someone, I would have told you to get out of my face. It wasn't something that I really liked doing. I had a job and I would just do my job. But when coming into this understanding and learning how my mind worked, there's a heart pull to walk along with humanity now for the rest of my life. There's a heart pull that happened when you all start showing up, when the little screens start popping up with people, smiles, and the wavings of hands. It was a common energy or a common feeling that we all kind of logged on and knew we were home. And even as Marina said to me earlier, welcome home. I think that's where I'll just start about this understanding for me. That's what it feels like. It feels like I get to start any and every opportunity of my life from home. But what I mean by home is one of the safest, most spiritual places I've ever visited. And it didn't take me any transportation to get there. It didn't take any money to purchase. It didn't take, calling a million people to find. It was a direct internal thing that has adjusted or transformed the way I look at everything. Marina mentioned it, my military background. I sometimes talk about it, sometimes don't, because I did learn a lot of skills in the military. Don't get me wrong, I really did, and I enjoyed my service in some capacities. But what I learned to do a lot of was separate. What I learned to do very quickly was separate. And I think I've spent, since meeting my mentor and coming into the principles, every attempt I can to break down any veil, any wall, anything that stops me from seeing that you and I are the same. Seeing that there's a universality to the energy that runs through us all. Seeing that our realities are thought created and that those things happening in front of us aren't causing the way we feel. The awareness that I have now that I'm whole, I used to live, that starting from home I talked about, used to start from thinking I was accomplishing things being broken. So when you think of trying to accomplish something being broken, it just feels different versus when you know you're whole. Doing it when you know it's for the whole, the common good of humanity, it feels different. And being here today with you all is just another testament of that. Usually when I speak, at some point in it, I'll cry. And that's not because I'm under any pressure or any trauma. It's just because I've realized these last couple of years that when I get that feeling I'm home or I'm right where I'm supposed to be, it gets overwhelming. Because for so many years I wasn't here. For so many years I lived in a place that just no one would want to call home. And so I really, really, really love this conversation and my friends and colleagues who I'm allowed to share it alongside. And I really just look forward to us exploring this much deeper throughout the day.
You know, Rob, you I love the way you speak of home. I love the way you speak of that place, and especially its availability. It's how inseparable it is from us, and yet how easily we get lost. We get lost. We lose touch with it by getting lost in our thinking. You know, and it seems to me that your testament, like revisiting your life throughout all your experiences, recognizing that it was always there, that it was always just one thought away, you know, at the reach of your hand. If you only had known. If you only had known that all it took to get back there was to let go of whatever your thinking was telling you in that moment, of whatever illusion your thinking was creating, an illusion of separation, of an illusion of us and them, an illusion of whatever story of separation. I often think of Jack Pransky's quote. Jack Pransky, for those of you who haven't heard of him, is another teacher of this understanding of the three principles. Jack Pransky says that all we are, I hope I don't get it wrong because I always get it wrong. all we are is wisdom, love, well-being, and the ability to believe that we are not. Now, when I first heard that quote, the ability to believe that we are not seemed like the bad guy. You know, it was like, wouldn't it be just so much easier without that guy in the equation? You know, like, wouldn't it just be easier to know that we are love and wisdom and well-being? And wouldn't that just change the world? But as I reflected on that at a deeper and deeper level, I realized something that has become really important in my life. Because I realized that fourth guy, the ability to believe that we are not, is actually freedom.
Mm.
And so we are wisdom and we are love and we are well-being, but we are free.
Mm-hmm.
We are free to believe that we are not. Now, to me, this is very personal. To me, that freedom implies that I am allowed by life, implies that I am trusted by life, implies that I am loved by life to the extent that I can choose to create my suffering any way I want to, and life will not interfere. Never will the sky break open and will a hand come out and touch my forehead and say, that is not the right way to suffer, young lady. No, I am free. I am allowed. I am loved to that extent. Now, it often makes me wonder, like how we do not allow people, how we are constantly telling people, oh no, you're wrong, you're doing it wrong, you should be doing it this way, you should be doing it that way, instead of allowing them, and a lot of what my work has become has been explaining how it works, but allowing people, like I will just explain to you how it works, and then what you decide to do with that sacred, unbelievable, incredibly powerful principle of thought is up to you. What I have found is that the deeper people understand it, the more they deliberately choose freely to use it for good, to use it to help, to support, like you are doing here, and you would not have done 7 years ago, right? So people naturally freely choose to use it to support, to help, to share. I have yet to know one person who truly sees how it works and does not immediately say, I want to share this with my family, I want to share this with my friends, I want to share this with others.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, the fact that when they see it, they freely choose to share it, they freely choose to actively participate in a massive healing worldwide, points to the good essence in them. The goodness in them, the wisdom in them, the beauty in them. And so I never, ever, ever doubt that the essence of the person who is sitting across from me would choose to help, would choose to heal, if they could, if they saw that possibility. And to me, that is hope.
I love that. I love that. I love that so much because, one, I've heard that quote from Jack quite a few times, but the piece on the ability to forgive, for me, that's consciousness. That's my awareness of my humanity. That is the awareness that I'm a human being at that moment, because I feel. And no matter what I'm feeling, if I remember the first 2 or 3, I'm love, I'm wisdom, I'm well-being, then that feeling is just a feeling. I think Sid says in one of his books, I mean, if we could just teach people not to be afraid of their experience, we've changed the world. And simply by understanding how our minds work can do just that. Not to say that I don't have problems. I mean, my background is probably different than a lot here. I grew up inner city kid. There was a lot of projections for me on life being bad. But this understanding, my awareness of my humanity is like, oh, even in spite of, I can love. And Even in horrible circumstances, wisdom is present. Even when the situation is going nowhere near what my mind, Rob mind, wants it to go, would like it to go, life is still happening. And I think that's the most beautiful part of anything for me with this. It's the principles are so universal, no one gets to stake claim to them. They just are. I mean, often the most easy principle that everybody talks about in life or in humanity is gravity. If 100 of us were standing on a cliff and 100 of us jumped, 100 of us would fall. That's what these three principles talk about. If 100 of us are standing on a cliff, 100 of us are connected to the universal intelligence of life. If 100 of us are standing on a cliff, 100 of us have the ability to connect to this universal intelligence and see something deeper for ourselves. It does not matter any of the complexions, the ethnicities, the social economic statuses. None of that matters with this understanding we're talking about. And from there, life gets to be created. You get to choose. How is it that you would like to use this gift? You know, I used to think that it was something that I needed to do to get it, kind of thing. And I realized that was wrong. I thought people like, and I'll use him since he's here, dear colleague, dear friend, mentor, Dickin Battinger. I thought people like Dickin had more of it than I had. And I realized once we were in a bus with some of the first generation Sydney Bank students, and we were en route to a conference, and there was a car accident on the road, and we were going to be late for the conference. And the first I say minute or two in the car after the driver lets us know we're going to be late, everybody in the van or the bus, all of the first generation students, all of the young people like myself, got caught up in our thinking. This is bad. This is bad. I was in it so much that I looked back about 5 minutes later, and all of them were laughing. All of them were joking, but I was still caught up. And that's when it hit me. The only thing you have to do with this understanding is remember. It's just remembering. Just as she said, that you are wisdom and that you are love. And I think that is probably one of the things I love most about this understanding. Kat, I'm gonna send over to you for a minute. I just heard a loud boom in my next room, and I'm gonna check on that, okay?
Oh, it's great. It's good reason to start to speak. Yeah, I love that. Mm. Mm. I finished yesterday with a sentence or with a sharing that I have a puppy for 3 weeks, and I realized how much I was thinking about myself before I've got a new puppy. And when Marina today read again my bio, I saw something what Rob described as well, how I created the illusion of the separation. And I really believed that it's for goodness, of my mom and my family to build my status and my schools and work on myself. And I was thinking a lot about myself. And with the three principles, what I see now, we speak about not us like individuals, what separate us and in what we are different than others, but we still speak about something what is common to everyone. We still speak about something what is true regardless if we know about it or not. And it's inevitable if you touch the space and saw that you are love, wisdom, and everyone else is as well, because we are the same and the principles are true for everyone. It's just inevitable that you want to share it. If you taste like life can be more light, it's inevitable that you want to for your family and for your friends and for everybody. One more thing what I saw about this is the innocence of it. Do you know, if you know the three principles, you know that you experience every moment you're thinking what you have in the moment, and you are not the one who is in the charge to choose it. You can notice it when it's happening, but you don't choose it. You don't know what will your next thought. And then I realized, oh, it's true for me. I can't judge myself if I have some thinking. But then I saw that if someone around me, everybody else behave, I started to see that they behave because they think something in that moment and they believe it. And something was changed after this realization for me. It helped me that some things just didn't touch. So it wasn't personal. And if you see things not personal, it's more simple to not fight for yourself. If something's not personal for you, you don't need to fight. You can be present again, and you can see and you can have a new thought, and you can react from the different place. It's happened to me so many times, and I will use another X because I shared yesterday about the last X, but I want to be funny now. But it's happened so many times that we were in the middle of fight. And then in one moment, it just stopped make sense to continue. Oh my God, it's the power of this understanding. And yeah. I just feel that I wish this thing for everyone, and it's something that's overwhelming me now. You know, I was believed when I meet three principles, I was, oh my God, it was like amazing something. But I still believe that it's something what I can, apply in my life, and then the horrible things will be better. And it was true on some level. It worked this way. And I remember that after my first training for the coaches, I was so looking forward to meet some stressful situation to try if it works or not. You know, I spent so much time to learning. Please give me some situation. I need to try it. And nothing happened. And it took 3 months, then I realized that the same situation still happened. but something in me didn't see them so challenging. And my mind just didn't, see them like a thing, what I need to be better in, or to feel better in, or change something about it. And then I saw that it's not the three principles who helped me to see things better, but that this is how I create my reality. And yeah, it was exactly, I shared it yesterday. If you tell me I love you, I can feel, yes, I love you too. And you can tell me I love you in the next minute, and I will say, oh, again, why? By this voice. And the experience will be absolutely different. I just saw that it's not about the circumstances, what I can see from the different point of view, because three principles, but the every experience is creating during the mind, consciousness, and thought every moment. Marina, you are smiling. I'm looking for Rob. Don't see him.
Yeah, unfortunately, Rob has some issue show up, and he won't be coming back for now. Maybe he will join us later, but he has something to attend to. But Kateřina, we have Natasha and Deacon here with us, so we have absolutely nothing to worry. You know, the conversation, what it is reminding me of is you were speaking about the very first training that you went to. And the very first training that I went to, when I got it started like this. So we got called into the room, we were asked to sit down, settle down. And the teacher that was presenting held up post-it note that said home on it and said, this is what we're going to be talking about for the next 5 days. This is what we're going to be talking about for the next 9 months. And I remember thinking that was an interesting idea. But I remember how throughout those 5 days, throughout those 5 months, the meaning of that word changed for me completely. Because, like Rob was saying, it became an inner space which was always available. But that meant that I carried it with me wherever I went. And that meant that I was not falling for the illusion of separation anymore. And so every single person I have ever met since then is also home. And every place I have been is also home. I was traveling last week. And in 5 days, I went to 3 different countries. It was insane. But I was thinking, it's amazing how I can feel at home, no matter where I am, no matter what is happening, no matter who I am with. You know, I was spending time with my kids, but then my kids would go away and I would have to spend the evening with total strangers, and then they would go. And I am going to say it like this: the ability to feel at home everywhere and in any circumstances makes you home for others as well. It helps people feel at home as well, because that is the energy that you are bringing, that you are offering, that you are giving away. there is something that gets awakened in you when you understand this, and there is something in others that recognizes that in you and says, I know this, and I want this, and so it becomes contagious. I understand what you mean when you say I was asking for difficult situations, to let me put this to the test. And I was talking to one of my kids the other day, and I was telling him, I used to be, I live in a country that is very violent as well, and there is not a lot of safety. And I used to be really scared of getting kidnapped, and I used to be really scared of many scenarios. And now when I think about those scenarios, it's not that I want to be kidnapped or anything, but I think it would be a really interesting experience to get kidnapped and talk about this understanding with the kidnappers and see what would happen. I mean, I know what I am saying is insane, but it's true. I was telling this to my children, and they were laughing and scolding me at the same time. But it's true. You just get curious around, well, what would it be like to experience something so extreme with this understanding, knowing that I have the capacity to stay home no matter what. And when I work with people that are in extreme circumstances, or when I have found myself in extreme circumstances, and people ask me, but how do you do it? How do you stay calm, stay home in extreme circumstances? And I honestly think that's the wrong question, because the right question is why? Why would you stay home? Why would you stay at peace? Why would you remain calm in extreme circumstances? And the answer to that is because we tend to do really well when we are calm and when we are at peace. We tend to use our common sense when we are calm, when we are at peace. We tend to use our wisdom when we are calm and we are at peace. Every single sign in every single building in my country says, in case of earthquake, number 1, stay calm. In case of fire, stay calm. Why? Because we do really well when we are calm, when we are at peace. And we don't when we are in altered states of mind. So why would you? Because it's a really good idea. And if you know that, the how will take care of itself. Here is why. Because part of the human design is that we will always choose the best option we see. And I am going to complete this sentence. The second part is really important. We will always choose the best option we see. And what I mean by we see is given the thinking that we have in the moment that looks real to us. So we are not designed to choose the second best option. If we choose what we rationally see as the second best option, it is because we see a pro in it versus what would rationally be the first best option. We are unable to choose the second best option we see or the third best option we see. It's impossible for us. It's not part of our design. So we will always choose the best option we see, given what looks real to us in the moment. So if we know deeply in our bones that the best option we have is to remain at peace, to remain calm, to remain at home, to remain loving, to remain compassionate, to remain forgiving, no matter the circumstance, then that will happen naturally. The how is not a problem. It will not be a rational choice. It will be natural. We can't hear you, Natasha. You are unmuted, but we can't hear you for some reason. No, if you mute yourself, then it surely won't work. Nope.
No.
Well, maybe you would like to check your audio settings.
Mm.
I guess she will sign back in.
Yeah, I think so.
I can, if you'd like, I can say something about this.
Please.
Natasha and I wrote a book called Coming Home because we fell in love with that metaphor. That when any person falls out of their thinking, they become more awake, more present, more alive. So you begin to think of there's a place inside of you that's always there, that when you drop into it, you feel less tense and more comfortable. Just like when you go home and you sit in your favorite chair and you relax at the end of the day. It's good to be home. When we drop into that space, we feel more peaceful. When we drop into that space and we're outside in nature, we see beauty. When we drop into that space, we feel closer to the people around us. I've worked with people who have said, I was never loved growing up. I don't know what love is. I don't know how to love. And yet, when I talk with them and they quiet down, suddenly they smile at me. That's an expression of love. Suddenly they say something, they thank me for something, they're grateful. That's an expression of love. Suddenly we're laughing. That's an expression of love. It doesn't matter if you've never been loved your whole life, you have the capacity to love. I've seen no exceptions to this in the thousands of people I've worked with. Artists know about this place because they do their best work when they're in this place. My wife is an artist. We're driving around in the car and she slams on the brakes. This happens all the time because she sees something. And she is in that place, and she sees beauty when she drives around. And she gets out of the car and takes pictures with her phone. She goes back to her studio, and she takes these pictures and puts them around the easel that she's going to paint on. And she told me she will not paint until she drops into that space and feels that same beauty that she felt when she saw what she wanted to paint. And when she's in that feeling, wisdom comes through beautiful feelings. And so suddenly her hand knows how to move, to create beauty on the painting. And she says, my job in life, my role in life is to help bring more beauty into the world. So you say, well, that's easy for her being in a safe home, in her studio. That's easy for her. A week ago, I saw a movie, beautiful movie called Porcelain War, about 4 artists living in the Ukraine, living in an area that was constantly under threat for being bombed. And these 4 artists would go off and fight and then come back home. And when they were home, they would go for walks in the woods and see beauty. And they would go back to their studio in their home and create porcelain figures. Porcelain is a very thin, white, delicate ceramic. And a woman, one of the artists would paint beautiful scenes, and they would leave these scenes in bombed out areas of the country. And they said they want us to feel fear so that we would be so we get discouraged and give up. They want us to be afraid. And we want to show them that they cannot kill our human spirit. And that the most important thing we can do is bring beauty into the world, bring love into the world. And they were so loving with one another. And they would be going off to fight, and they would be laughing and joking around with each other. And they would come home, and continually their main job was to drop into this place. Some people call that place our soul. Can't be hurt or damaged. It's the spiritual nature of life that's all around us, this infinite, creative, wise, intelligent, loving space. And it's also within us. Just like there's space inside your house and there's space outside your house. Some people call that space the heart, the spiritual heart. Sometimes with my clients, I call it, there's a drop-in center that's open 24/7. There's no bouncer at the door. There's no admission fee. Everyone in the community is welcome. It's a community drop-in center, common unity center. And if you drop into this center, they serve refreshments that will nourish you and uplift you. This is the heart of every single spiritual teaching. Come home. Come home to your true self. Sid would say, Sid Banks would say to us, if you want to help the world, go inside, quiet down, find a nice feeling, and bring it out into the world and give it away for free. Anyone can do that anytime, anywhere. We did a 3-day program a while back that Masha helped us create, and Marina, and there were people calling in from bomb shelters. And they started to have tears on their face because they realized that nothing that was happening to them could prevent them from dropping into this space and bringing some warmth and kindness to the other people around them that were afraid. Marina, I loved what you said about when you're at home, you help other people feel at home, no matter how despairing they are. It resonates on a deeper level. One time, my 7-year-old grandson was playing around with his father, and he got hurt. His father accidentally hurt him. And my grandson was so upset. He ran into his bedroom and ran into his closet and closed the door and was sobbing and crying. And I followed him into the bedroom, and I could hear him. And I didn't know intellectually what to say or do, so I just sat down outside the door. And it occurred to me in that moment of quiet, it occurred to me just to say to him, Jacob, I love you. I love you. I love you. And suddenly the door to the closet burst open, and he jumped into my arms and just hugged me and cried. And he cried, and then he came home. And he went right back out and started playing again. If you want to help anyone, especially someone who has pain, come home. It's all you have to do. You don't have to know what to say. You don't have to know what to do. You come home to this quiet space, this deeper feeling of being just present, fully present, relaxing deeper and deeper into that space, into that feeling. And wisdom will guide you on what to do.
Sheila, can you hear me now?
We can hear you now, a little bit far away, but we can.
Okay, I'm gonna come a little bit closer. I love how hopeful it is that home is who we are. Can you not hear me?
It's very soft, Natasha.
Okay, I don't quite know what to do.
Speak louder.
Speak louder. I was gonna see. Okay. Is it better now?
Not really.
Not really. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, I will speak louder, like
Hey.
this.
Yes.
Home is our essence. Yesterday I spoke about how the clay in the pots is the same clay. Home is the same like clay. It's our essence. If I was to ask you right now to stand up and take one step towards yourself, where would you go? You're here. Home is here. And that is very hopeful to know. We're asked all the time, how do I get to this home? But it's here, now. All that's ever happening is that you are caught up in the thinking you're having in the moment. So it feels like home is covered. But it's here. That's why Sydney Banks used to say, you're one thought away. It's the thought you're having right now that prevents you from knowing that you're home. It's really hopeful because it's so close. Home is the most intimate part of who we are. It is our essence, and you can't get away from it. So the work we do with people in trainings, when we speak to them one-to-one, is we help them remember this. We're not putting home into any of you. It's not in our power to do so. We're simply reminding you of who you are. And that's all you need. And whenever you touch your home, whenever you relax into it again, oh, now I know. And that is where resilience comes from. That is where compassion comes from, love comes from. When we invite people to be on the board with us, we have like a saying, service over self. And this is not a doing. This is when we touch this space. We want to be of service. It's in our hearts. It overflows with us, from us, to want to touch other people, to help them wake up. When Dickon and I wrote our book, Coming Home, our first book, we were very sensitive to when we were at home while writing. It's a feeling. When we were in the feeling, we were able to write beautifully. The collaboration was so smooth. There was no conflict. There was no discussions. Whenever one of us said, I don't see it that way, the other person would immediately say, tell me more. There was that openness. Collaboration from home is easy. It's beautiful. And something beautiful gets created from that space. Doesn't matter what you're doing, collaboration can be that easy. But we also got very sensitive to whenever we weren't at home. We would start discussing. It would feel difficult. What do you think we should do now? Oh, I think this. Well, I think that. We didn't fight or anything, but we were kind of got into our intellects. It comes with the feeling of tension. And it's so obvious when it happens. It was so obvious that the creative process was not easy when we got caught up in our intellect. Isn't it neat that we have these inner guidance systems? I spoke about it yesterday. I called it biofeedback. Bio because we feel it in our bodies. Now, we couldn't stop ourselves from going into our intellects from time to time, but we do know what to do when that happens. Step away from the computer. Step away from the book. Go for a walk. have a cup of tea. And every time we did, at some point in the walk or during tea, one or the other would say, oh, I have a fresh idea. And we would run back to the computer and start working again. It's very practical. It's so practical that we can feel in ourselves when we're home and when we're not. We're human beings. We don't get a sense of being there all the time because we get caught up in our thinking often. So that's always going to be true. It's not a problem if you know how to come back, if you know where to look. That is why all the wise masters, teachers in the world say the same thing. Look within. Sydney Banks is very clear about it in some of his videos. He says, forget about your kids, forget about your spouse, forget about your students, forget about your friends. See this for yourself. He didn't mean be egotistical. He didn't mean be egocentric. He's pointing to a very deep truth. The deeper we see this, the more grounded we are, the more we resonate into the world. Like Marina was saying, the more we live from home, the more we invite people into their home. It's an invitation. Come home. It's a nice place to be. And you know it when you're there because it comes with a feeling. It's not a particular feeling of, oh, I'm so happy, or oh, I'm so much at peace. It's just a knowing. It's gentle. It's safe. It's grounded. It's what we can rely on. And so in this world that, from our human perspective, looks so violent and diverse and so much is going on, we can't find safety in the physical form, in the world. If we look for safety out there, it's difficult to find. But what if every single human being knows that there's one thing we can rely on? There's one place we can always come back to, which is safe. And it's not like we can then hide in there. But as several of us have spoken about, when we are home, we are more resilient. And we do have this more ready access to wisdom, which we spoke a lot about yesterday, which will guide us. Go left, go right, do this, talk to that, hide here. So it's the best place to live from. So that's why it's so hopeful that it doesn't take years to find. You don't need to practice any particular thing. All we ever do is point in a direction. We're pointing people home. And that's really the essence of the three principles, that it's here already.
Thank you, Natasha. Welcome back, Mr. Rob Cook. We are
Real
glad.
time. Real time. The noise was my phone vibrating off the table, hit the ground. 4 missed calls. I hit the answer, and my daughter's screaming, "I've been robbed." She's hurt. She's angry. And because she's my youngest daughter, I sometimes forget this is in her too. And it stirs me. And so I jumped off the call. That's about a 8-hour flight that would have to take place. Well, maybe not 8 hours, maybe 4 or 5 hour flight that would have to take place for me to get to her physically. But I knew enough to know not to say anything at that moment and to come back here for a second. And because I'm not scared to be scared or to cry or any of that, when I came back on, I heard Dickens say something. And that's just how this works. Does it mean I am not going to worry about my daughter the rest of the day? I have no idea. But I know right now, she knows I love her. She knows I'm going to do whatever support I can. And the best thing for me to do right now is for me to remember. It's for me to remember. It's for me to settle, not pass on any of my judgments and my biases about her neighborhood. For me to not tell her anything that possibly could have been done differently. Not right now. Right now, my daughter, a human being, is suffering. And what's so interesting about it is I'm pretty sure if I canvass the whole world, she's not the only one that's happening to right now. She's not the only one that's suffering right now. And the only difference in between an hour ago when we got here and now is knowing it. The awareness that experience for her has happened. And I wanted to come back for a couple reasons. Because there's this misperception, I'll call it, that when you understand how your mind works, life becomes a fairy tale. That you'll no longer face anything. That problems won't occur. And for me, for Rob, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is in spite of them, if we could just slow this thing down enough, something will appear to you to do. Something will occur to you. A step will make sense at that point. And then that's what I'll do. But I just feel for her. I really do. And not just her, but for anybody. I mean, it's just because she's my daughter, of course, it's right there to me, but this is the plate of what people deal with daily and why we do this work. I was doing a course the other day and I asked people why they coached or why. And what we end up with coming back to was because of the human potential. Because of what's possible when 151 people decide to get on a Zoom link and look towards something new. That's why I came back. I could have easily went into my office or stayed in my office and just ruminated on the thoughts. I could have got very angry, which I probably will still at some point. But all of that, I know I'm okay. I know I'm okay. And I know she too will be okay. I know this. And this creates a feeling for me. This is why I do it. Not for the highlights and the joys, although they're fun. The laughs are great. I've been to many of your programs. I've spoken for many of you. Don't get me wrong, that's great. But I do this because when it's dark for some people, you could possibly be the only light they see. You don't have to know a lot. You just have to know that. You don't have to study a lot. You just got to remember that. Each and every person on this call is the light of the world. The light of the world. The whole fucking world. Each and every one of the people on this call. And there are some places that are dim. And they need us. Not to do anything, but just stand there. Just be there. And shine. Shine. That is this understanding for me. I don't want blood. I would like somebody to be held accountable for their actions, absolutely. But because of what I know, that wasn't personal to my daughter. That was somebody who had a belief of their actions going to help them feel better. And as much as I disagree with it, it's how this system works. It's how this works. They felt if they violated her car and stole her stuff, that it would somehow put them in a better position. And again, just in full honesty and transparency, I've been that same asshole to do it once or twice in my younger days. I too have made choices to infringe or to harm based on thinking it would make me feel better. I just know it's not true now. I know it's not true now. There's no amount of arguing, no amount of violence that's ever going to make me feel better. This is her calling back, so I'm going to take this call, y'all.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you for that. There is value in seeing this happen in life. There is tremendous power in seeing this happen in life. And what Rob was sharing made me think of two stories that I would like to share with you. The first one is what happened to a psychologist. His name is Bill. And at some point, his daughter had been brutally raped. And they went through the whole shock and through the whole trauma or whatever. And Bill found himself caught up in feelings of hate and wanting revenge. And his words, not mine, wanting to kill. But something in him knew that that was not the way. Something in him understood that an eye for an eye is never the answer. And so he took full responsibility for his own feelings and his own well-being. See, this is what we were talking about yesterday. You take full responsibility for your own experience, for your own feelings, for what you are doing with your thinking. And instead of going out and killing and executing revenge, he found a way to find permission to go into a prison and interview rapists so that he could understand them. And he spent years interviewing rapists. And he ended up helping a lot of them. He has a beautiful TED Talk. I think it is called How to Love When You Want to Hate. I am not absolutely certain. Something like that. And to me, that is a testament to what understanding how it works can make possible for everybody, for every single person on earth. And the other story I want to share is a personal one. One day, one of my mentors very candidly asked me, is there anyone you would not be willing to work with in the world? And that was really easy for me to answer. It was, of course, I had a list, drug lords, rapists, I don't know, I would not be willing to work with them because, And he got really quiet. There was a long silence. And then he asked me a question that shook me to the core. And his question was, so you believe that the world can change if we only help the ones that kind of are lost, kind of need help, and not those who really are lost and really need help? And that shook me to the core because it really made me see how I was still caught up in my judgment. How I was not willing to let go of those beliefs and those preconceptions that I had of who those people were. And it changed me in an instant. The question changed me in an instant. My whole reality transformed into, oh my God, what am I doing? And there is a beautiful quote by, I think it's Baudelaire, that says, and who in 2000 years has prayed for Satan? Who in 2000 years has prayed for the one that needs it the most? And again, this does not mean, like Rob was saying, that we do not want people to, face the natural consequences of their choices. Of course we do. But from what space? From a place of judgment and condemnation and revenge and hate? Or from a place in which I take responsibility for where I am at, and I deliberately choose my well-being, my peace, my home. and knowing what that makes possible out there in the world. So it is really easy, not the temptation to judge, the temptation to condemn. It's the easiest thing in the world. But look out at the world and see where that has brought us to. In one of the letters of St. Paul, I don't know to whom, the letters of St. There's always the letters to the Corinthians and the letters to the others, but I don't know which one. But there is a letter, the letter of St. Paul to somebody that has a sentence in it that says, only one gets saved. So in other words, only you can save yourself. Only you hold the key to where you stand. Only you can choose whether you fall for the illusion or you don't. Nobody can do it for you. Now, for me personally, that sentence has a second meaning, which has to do with responsibility. Because if we truly understand oneness, we know that we cannot get saved if we are condemning others. Only one gets saved. And maybe that is why in every single tradition there is the one person that comes to teach the others, the one person that comes into the form to share truth. And in other traditions, when someone becomes enlightened, they get asked, okay, do you want to step into heaven? Do you want to step into nirvana and enjoy? Or do you want to go back and teach? And they all choose to come back and teach. Because they know that we need to bring everyone along with us. Otherwise, it's not complete. And when the Buddha says, if your compassion does not include yourself, it is not complete. He also is saying, if your compassion does not include everyone, it is not complete. Everyone. And I was saying earlier, the difference between the how and the why, but in this instant, the why becomes really important. This responsibility, this understanding that there is only one, that we are only one. Because if we understand that, then that will show us the how. I am a firm believer in the conversational nature of life. We have been talking for the last 2.5 days about insight, the human capacity for insight, for new thought, for new ideas. Natasha just spoke about it. We would step away from the computer, step away from the book, go take a walk, have a cup of tea, and at some point, something new would come to us. We have spoken about this in different ways. And for me, this has to do with the conversational nature of life. When I don't know how to something, or I don't know what to do with something, I recognize that I don't know. And I ask life to show me. And because I am its child, because it speaks to me through wisdom, because it is guiding me every step of the way, it always answers. So if I don't know how to forgive, I tell life, I'm completely lost here. I don't know how to do this. You show me. And it does. If I don't know how to have a difficult conversation with my ex-husband, I have no clue how to do this. You show me. And I get quiet. And it shows me. I want to learn how to love myself. Show me. And it does. It always does. Because that's how it works. And that's how it works for all of us. It's alive in you. In every single one of you, like Rob was saying. And also, when 151 people get together to look in the same direction, man, what happens is the stuff of dreams. It's the stuff of heaven. We are here together, looking in this direction. How do I forgive? How do I understand? How do I step away from judgment? How do I stop condemning so that I can find my peace again? This is how you do it. This is how you shine. This is how you become home to yourself, to others, to the whole universe, to wisdom, to truth. This is how you become you. doesn't matter what you are going through. It doesn't matter what you went through. It doesn't matter what you would like, you will go through. It doesn't matter. This remains true. It is the wisdom of the ages. We have quite a few comments and questions in the chat room. So if it's okay with you, Natasha, Dick, and Kate, Kateřina. Kateřina, you have to rename yourself. we can go on to those. Is that okay?
Yes.
You can, yeah. Okay, Kateřina. So the first one was directed to Rob, but I think he's busy right now. So Rob said, peace is the ability to forgive no matter how I feel. How is that possible, given violence, abuse, war? Please explain again. This is unbelievable. Thank you.
I know Dick.
I'll stand in for Rob.
Yeah.
I always thought forgiveness had to do with, I have to somehow forgive someone else for doing something horrible. And I say, I can't do that. How can I? And when Sid Banks talked about forgiveness, he talked about it different than forgiving behavior. He said, forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for you. And if you hold on to a judgment that makes you feel miserable, who suffers? If someone hits you with a baseball bat and walks away, why would you pick up that baseball bat and keep hitting yourself on the head and suffering? So horrible things do happen. You don't have to forgive the behavior. You release the thought that makes you miserable and stay in pain. It frees you up so that you can once again feel love rather than bitterness and hatred. It's a very, very different way of understanding forgiveness. Now I understand why so many teachers, wise people, spiritual teachers have said you can't talk about love without talking about forgiveness. Because if you don't let go of judgments, you won't love. You let go of judgment, and it frees you up to be peaceful again and happy again and loving again, so that you can bring that to your friends and your family. When I have a client who says, I'll never forgive someone, I know they're innocently condemning themselves to hold on to thoughts that make themselves suffer and be miserable. It's a very different way of understanding forgiveness. Why would I hold on to any thought that makes me suffer? Why would that ever be helpful? And I have plenty of thoughts that make me suffer. And you have two people who are angry. And one is holding on to them, and the other one is letting them go. They're both angry, but one is letting them go. One has understanding, one doesn't have understanding. One will continue to suffer. A whole bunch of our friends wrote a paper, a research paper, and they're suggesting there's only one cause of mental illness. It's people innocently holding on to thought in a way that they live in chronic stress. It's the only cause. If you're not living in chronic stress, you'll never have any kind of psychological problem. You'll feel angry, you'll feel hurt, you'll feel sad. You could see Rob. I got so touched by Rob, and I know many of you did. He was suffering. His daughter was hurt. His daughter was robbed. You could see him suffering, but he was still shining, wasn't he? Couldn't you feel his compassion, his love? I didn't know you could be very sad, very hurt, and still be present and shining. Not holding, present, and still be shining. Even if you're sad, you can be loving. Even if you're upset, if you're fully present and not holding, you can be loving. You can be kind to other people. I've seen it happen over and over again because I work with a lot of people who are suffering. It's very hopeful. Sid would call that you bring your understanding with you into a low state of mind. So you're upset, but you're present and shining. That's absolutely beautiful. It doesn't mean you feel good all the time. You can have any feeling, but it's your understanding that protects you. It's your understanding that will protect you. Allow you to be a kind, loving person, even if you have been gravely hurt. Very hopeful. Very, very hopeful. For anyone. Different way of understanding forgiveness. You forgive yourself by saying, I love myself enough. I don't want to hold on to something that will make me suffer. That's self-compassion that Marina was talking about.
Go to the next one. We don't have a lot of time to answer it, like 5 minutes, but let's go to the next one. It says, I have borderline and ADHD, which means very strong emotions and fast thoughts. Me and my boyfriend just broke up after 2 years of fighting and not understanding each other. We both are in the 3 principles. The end was not good, and he's very angry with me. And I don't want anything to do, he doesn't want anything to do with me, and it hurts. I struggle with guilt feelings, and I have said I'm sorry for all the bad behaviors I had. But as always, I end up with lots of guilt feelings and blame to myself because of the borderline. I know it is thought, but I keep dwelling and crying every day. What to do with guilt and forgiveness? 3 principles really helps a lot, but it is still difficult. I guess I would like to hear about breakup and all the thoughts that come with it. guilt, whether I could have done something different. It was my fault. Will he come back? Feelings of bad conscience because you weren't the best you could and you hurt someone else. When you have borderline, it can be extreme and it gives huge guilt feelings. How do you forgive yourself when I have destroyed so many relationships and living with borderline is not easy? Sometimes I give up and think I will never work with anyone in my life because it has never worked with anyone. But like Sid said, no exceptions to the rule.
What I'm hearing is that there's, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, but try to speak louder, Natasha. I know
Okay.
you.
I can speak loudly. Well, what I'm hearing is a lot of thoughts. And what I always come back to when I'm speaking with an individual saying what you were just saying, or a couple, is to come back to love, to come back to quiet. I loved when Marina earlier said to pray for an answer. What can I do? But it comes out of the silence. It comes out of the calm. And so when there's all that thinking going on, it's very difficult to get an answer. So if I was sitting across from you who asked the question, I would try to see when there are moments where you feel at peace. Even with ADHD and borderline, I feel certain that there are times when you fall into essence, when you are home, and knowing that space in yourself, that is where answers come from. When I work with couples, I always try and help them back to love. No matter if they don't find each other again in the relationship, but coming back to love is always the answer, whatever is going on. Love and silence, love and understanding. So it's a very different direction than the direction of trying to figure out, how do I forgive myself? How do I forgive the other person? It's a very simple premise that we keep speaking about. You see that it's thought, you've already seen that. But there's a second step. Come home. The second step is, it's not enough just to see it's thought. It's incredibly powerful to see that we are already one. There is no separation. Love is being the same, no judgment, oneness. That was my answer.
Beautiful, Natasha. Thank you. Yeah. When you see that it is thought, let it go. Renounce it. It is time for a break. We will meet at 10 after the hour. Thank you, Deacon. Thank you, Natasha. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Kateřina. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We'll see you in 20 minutes.